The title of this contemplation mentions three English terms, namely arch, arc, Their similar sounding may raise the suspicion that they have common etymological roots. General accepted etymology, however, does not agree upon these thoughts, as we shall see. However, when a little bit deeper is dug, a common root may be bared. For this, however, general etymology will be suffice, and to make up for this shortcoming shall, in this contemplation, esoteric thought be applied. In combination with etymological considerations, may these terms be brought to a common origin. Arch is in the English language known as a noun, a verb, an adjective, and as a prefix. We shall focus in this contemplation on the prefix and the noun, in that set order. So first, arch as a prefix shall be contemplated. As a prefix, it appears in words like archaeology, archetype, and architecture. As such, it is considered to be rooted in Greek archi. This prefix is similar in meaning as the Greek arche, which carries meanings like beginning and origin. Now, in Greek, arche is written with the letters alpha, rho, chi, and eta. And this Greek word arche can, just as the English arch, be phonetically boiled down to the sound, which in Greek capitals would be written as px, arche, the beginning and origin. Brought back to its essence is written as px. This is of great importance, for when these two letters are combined in one monogram, then the well-known Christian symbol results. For Christians, this symbol stands not so much for arche, but for Christ. In that case, the monogram is read as XP. These letters correspond to the basic sound in Christ, namely KR. So it is in this so-called Kiro monogram that a relation occurs between arche and Christ. Arche is Christ, but who is Christ? In esoteric thought, is the term Christ not so much used to refer to the person Jesus of Nazareth, but more primarily to a principle, the Christ principle. This principle is considered to occur when spirit relates to matter, and is held to be the same as the soul principle. As such, it is the intermediating factor between the aforementioned poles, as Jesus Christ is considered to be the intermediating factor between man and God. Okay, so that's a baby in UK. His name is Archie. And then XP, that's a software company named one of his product, XP. So far, this Kiro symbol has been considered grammatically, but it can also be looked upon in a geometrical way. The symbol represents a sound, but in being representative, does it have a distinctive shape and form? Now, the basic features of the symbol are a more or less oval shape on top and a cross at its base. This, considering it may dawn that as a geometrical symbol, it has not so much been introduced by the Greeks on base of their grammatical script signs, but that it is derived from the older Egyptian symbol. For the meaning of this Egyptian ankh, as the symbol is called, is remarkably similar to the Kiro symbol of the Christians. The meanings attached to the ankh symbol are namely life and soul. In these meanings can clearly Christ be recognized. After all, did Jesus Christ himself proclaim to be the life? But the relation of Christ with the ankh goes obviously further, for all will recognize the Christian cross in the ankh. The crucifix crucifixion of the Son of God on the cross brings forth the Christ, just as the entering of spirit into matter brings forth the Christ or soul principle. The Ankh as Christ and as Anki is the beginning and the origin, because it is only through the relation of spirit and matter that anything comes to being. Through the union of Father Spirit and Mother Matter, Christ, being the Son and the soul, is the firstborn. And being the firstborn from whence everything else originates, may in this way Christ be well considered to be the origin of all things. So in Christ are Father Spirit and Mother Matter united. We see this reflected both in the Christian crucifix as in the Egyptian Ankh. The crucifix shows Jesus crucified to a cross. In this symbol, does the cross stand for matter, on which Jesus, standing for spirit, is crucified. The Ankh also consists of such a dual composition, for it is composed of tau, cross, and an ellipse placed on top, forming together a full cross. Here a more detailed explanation needs to be given. Generally, cosmic evolution is esoterically symbolized as follows. First is the ellipse or the circle given, isolated from any other symbol. This isolated circle stands for the great absolute beyond any duality. Then a point appears within the circle. This point is the Father principle, and the circle has become the Mother principle, carrying the Father principle still in her womb. After that, a horizontal line divides the circle through the middle. The Father principle has come to being, resulting in the great duality of spirit above and matter below. In the next symbol has the Father, secondly the Mother, symbolized by a vertical line in the Mother principle. The symbol now shows a dark cross in the circle. Through this fecundation, the Christ principle is born, symbolized as the cross in the circle. In this combination, thus the cross symbolizes the manifested universe, and thus the circle symbolizes the primal principle beyond duality. When the cross after that is depicted above the circle, symbolizes the crucified Christ on Mount Golgotha or Calvary. In this symbol, thus manifested creation dominate over Christ. When the cross, however, is depicted below the circle, then the victorious and resurrected Christ is symbolized. And in this symbol, we of course recognize the Egyptian Ankh symbol. In this sense, may the Ankh symbol also be thought of as the symbol for the enlightened human individual. For on the path of enlightenment, must the personality principle submit itself to the soul or Christ principle. The lower self must bow for the higher self, and with those who have not yet reached such a submission, and this goes for the majority of human beings living on earth. Thus, the self-centered personality still dominates the soul principle. Now, the last two given symbols are also to be recognized as the astrological symbols of the planets Earth and Venus. This may indeed lead to consider Earth as a sphere where the Christ principle is brought to death through crucifixion on manifested creation, and Venus as a sphere where the Christ principle is victorious over manifested creation. These considerations are analogous to the aspects of man when he is considered to consist of a lower self and a higher self, or of a body and a soul. Earth then is the planet that resembles symbolically and houses actually those men who have not yet subjugated their lower self to their Christ principle within. and Venus then is the planet that resembles symbolically and houses actually those men in whom the Christ principle triumphant. Esoterically, this makes sense, for in esoteric thought is Venus indeed considered to be Earth, what the higher self or the soul is to the lower self or personality. Arc. At the beginning of the previous paragraph, it has written that in contemplating arch, the emphasis would be laid on arch as a prefix and as a noun. As a prefix, it has thus been contemplated, and now we shall continue with arch as a noun. That this is done under the title of arc is because the noun arch and the noun arc are very similar in meaning, and because both are given similar etymological roots. Arch refers to a constructed bowl or a curve, and arc refers to a part of a curve or circle. Both are considered to be derived from the Latin arcus, which also carries meanings pertaining to constructed curves and bowls. So how do we get from the considerations of the previous paragraph to the nouns arch and arc denoting a curve or bowl? The first step to bridge this apparent gap is to bring the sun under the attention as one of the great symbols of the Christ principle. It may very well be beyond coincidence that Pythagoras called Venus the other sun. To connect arch and arc to the sun might become plausible after we search etymologically beyond the Latin arcus and even beyond the Greek language. English, Latin, and Greek all belong to the family of Proto-Indo-European languages. This is a family of languages to which also the ancient language Sanskrit belongs, which is often considered to antedate even ancient Greek. Thus it may be rewarding to involve Sanskrit as well in our etymological analysis. Now in relation to the present contemplation, the three words with similar sounding occur in Sanskrit, namely arc, Aka, and Ak. Ak means to hit and to praise. Aka refers to a ray, a flash of lightning, the Hindu god Indra, or to sun, and Ak carries meanings such as to shine, to praise, and to worship. Taking notice of this, it should be clear that in these meanings, the sun is the pivotal factor. The sun is hot, shiny, and is worthy of praise and worship. That the sun is worthy of worship is an understandable statement, since throughout most cultures, the sun has been worshipped as a life-giving god. So how then is the sun related to a bowl or a curve? A first indication can be found in the given that the sun is worshipped in many cultures. For in worship do people bow to their gods. In worship is the human body bent in the shape of an arch. Now, in this worship is the path which the sun follows during the day and night, often given a central role. The Greek Helios, for instance, rode his four-horsed sun chariot across the sky from east to west, a picture very similar to that of the Hindu sun god Surya, who also rides a four- or seven-horsed chariot. And also the Egyptian sun god Ra followed the same course, be it in his case in a sunboat. Now, from the perspective of the human onlooker on Earth, does the sun follow its course in the form of an arch? It rises at the eastern horizon, follows a bow over the onlooker's head, and sets at the western horizon. The sun draws a clear arch in the sky, not for nothing. Thus, the English noun arc also refer to the course of heavenly bodies in relation to the horizon. Now let us continue from the earlier found ankh symbol. This Christ symbol is not the ultimate root symbol, for the ankh was preceded by the symbol of a loop. In this symbol, we recognize again the ellipse and the cross. Here, the ellipse stands for the place in the north from which the sun is born. It is in this quarter that the constellation of the Great Bear, or Ursa Major, is found, and the ellipse of the loop is esoterically considered to symbolize the circle that the Great Bear makes. So the sun is born from the ellipse which the Great Bear makes. This is a remarkable statement that may become more plausible when a relation between the Great Bear and the sun, and also Christ, can be sketched. Now, the Great Bear, consisting of 7 stars, is esoterically considered to be the origin of 7 rays that determine all quality in our solar system, and thus also on our planet. In this sense is the inference of the Great Bear Christ bearing, for it is from the Christ principle that all else evolves, as we have seen in the previous paragraph. All that has being is qualified being. All that is originates from Christ, and all qualities originate from the Great Bear. Thus, we may recognize in the Great Bear a Christ of grand splendor. It is not for nothing that, with Christ being the sun principle, the occult path of absolute sonship involves the Great Bear, the sun, and the 7 sacred, victorious Christ planets, of which Venus is one. Taking further in account that one of the stars of the Great Bear is esoterically considered to be to the sun what the highest self is to the lower self, and the deep-fetching relation between the Great Bear, the sun, and Christ may be realized. This notion is here of importance because the term arc appears also in the word Arctic, which refers to the North Pole, which in turn is placed in the quarter where also the Great Bear makes its loop in the sky. It is therefore also that Arctic is considered to be derived from the Greek arctos, for arctos means bear in general, but it refers to in particular also to the constellation or the Great Bear. Thus, the relations between arc, as in Arctic, and as now the Great Bear, the sun, the Christ have been explicated.